So today we're going to get into the exciting world of spectrophotometry. So this is the Carry 50 UV visible spectrophotometer. There are two kinds that we'll be using. There's this one with the cell changer. You just slide the cover back, and there's the space for the cuvettes inside the spectrometer. And the other type is the type on the sides that has the probe sampler, and we will give a bit of a tutorial at the end of how to use that one as well. So there's three types of cuvettes that you might come across. These ones are clear on all sides, and so the orientation that you put it into the spectrophotometer does not matter. But these two types are frosted on two sides, and they're clear on two sides. So there's an arrow on this one that points to the frosted side, so you're going to want to put it in this way. The light in the spectrophotometer goes from right to left, so make sure that you're lining up the clear sides left and right. And same with this one, it's frosted on two sides and clear on two sides. These ones are a bit overly concentrated. This is just 1 drop of potassium permanganate and then diluted with distilled water. This is probably more the concentration that you want to shoot for, just a very light pink. It does not take much for the spectrometer to pick it up. And the first thing that you want to do before you put the cuvette in the spectrophotometer, is to take a Kim wipe and clean off the outsides, because any oils from your fingers will interfere with your spectrum. So I'm just going to put it into cell 1. This is one that's clear on all sides, so it doesn't matter which way. And then you can close up the cover so that no stray light gets in and messes with your readings. So on the desktop, there's a shortcut to scan, and that will open up the program. This instrument is already connected to the program. If it's not, this start button up here will say connect. You just click on that and it should do the rest for you. So now that we've got our sample in, what we need to do is go to setup. Okay, so we've got setup open now. So just in the first tab, we need to set our spectral window. So we're going to go from 600 nanometers to 450 nanometers. And we're going to set the scan speed to slow, so that's 300 nanometers per minute. Your book says 20 nanometers per minute, but that will take forever, and 300 nanometers per minute will be just fine. There's nothing else on this screen that you need to change. Baseline is fine as is. We're not going to use the cell changer because we've just got the one cell in use, so everything else should be in defaults. So you shouldn't need to change anything except your scan speed and your spectral window. Okay, and then you press OK to save these changes. Okay, so now we're ready to run our sample. Now we do not need to run a blank sample, and we don't need to zero the instrument, because we're not interested in the actual absorbance of the sample. What we're interested in is the wavelength of the absorbances, and we don't need a blank for that. So now we're ready to run. So we just need to click on Start, and then you need to save the file that is going to save the scan in. So you can just click on this button to get to the desktop, and then put your name in, and just KMN04, and then that will save to the desktop. And then the sample, you can name it anything you want. I'm going to name mine Bob, and then it will start taking the scan. Okay, so you can see it is getting a signal here, and this is the potassium permanganate signal. So right now it's prompting me to run another scan, but I don't want to. Just the one is fine, so we'll click Finish. And then you can go ahead and manipulate this. So this is a signal for potassium permanganate, but it's not very distinct right now. So what we need to do is go up to this double-headed arrow here, and this will scale the y-axis. Okay, so just click the auto scale button once, and then it will increase the y-axis so that we can see the signal more clearly. So we can see there's 3 well-defined maxima on the spectrum. There's 2 little shoulders here, but we're going to ignore those. So we need to peak pick the wavelengths of the maxima. So you right-click on the graph, and then go down to peak labels at the bottom. And then it opens up the peak label menu. So we want just x-axis labels, because again, we're not interested in the absorbance. So click apply. So now you see it's picked 2 out of the 3 peaks that we want. So what that means is that the peak threshold is set too high. So it's saying that this peak here is too gradual. It's not identifying that as a maxima. So we need to decrease the peak threshold so that it will find that one. So we're going to try 0.005 at first. Still didn't get it, so we're going to try 0.002. And that's got it now. So if it doesn't pick all your peaks the first time, don't panic, that can be changed. Or if it picks too many, then you may want to increase the peak threshold. So if we go to peak label details, then we can change the orientation. Probably most convenient is you just slide the slider over to this position, and then they'll be a little easier to see. All right, so here are the 3 maximas picked out. The wavelengths are labeled now. So we're ready to print the spectrum. So we go down to the bottom left corner, there's a button that says print. Then that is correct, just the default printer. All right, so it's printed, and let me introduce to you Bob. All right, so the only thing left to do now is to close down the program, and that is as easy as clicking on the X. So now we can take our sample out of the spectrophotometer. So using the probe sampler, you're going to need a cuvette that is much less full than this, so just pour it out into waste for a bit. So this is plenty of solution for the probe sampler. So this is going to require 2 of you. So one person can run the spectrophotometer program. It's the exact same setup as on the other machine, but now one person needs to hold the cuvette in the probe while it takes the scan. That's all I've got.
Clean up.
Oh, yeah. Nice. And to clean the probe sampler, you need some distilled water and a Kim wipe. So just hold the Kim wipe over the probe and rinse it down with the distilled water and wipe it dry. A bunch of dirty cuvettes now. The last thing to do is to clean them out. So have a beaker for wastewater handy, and then take your bottle of distilled water and just rinse it out a couple of times. Just make sure there's no pink color left when you're doing your rinse. And then put them back into the cuvette holder. And you're done.